The Grand Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the known universe. A massive circle of towering stone pillars, floating holographic banners, and endless rows of alien leaders seated in shining seats of power. The ceiling shimmered like a swirling galaxy, filled with glowing stars and quiet thunder. It was the place where laws were made, wars were declared, and entire civilizations were judged. Today, every seat was full. Every spotlight was aimed downward. Every voice whispered the same word like poison slipping through the air: humans, humanity, Earthborns, the smallest, youngest, most underestimated species in the galaxy. And today was the day the galaxy decided their fate. At the very center of the chamber, 3 human diplomats stood alone on a small circular platform. They wore simple uniforms, dark navy, clean, respectful. But compared to the golden robes, jeweled armor, and glowing crowns of the alien leaders, they looked painfully plain, weak, unimportant, beneath notice. The tallest alien on the council, a towering, horned creature called High Chancellor Vexer, raised a long metallic staff. The sound echoed like thunder, crashing through the room. Silence fell instantly. Every whisper died. Every breath stopped. Vexer spoke, his voice cold and sharp. Order begins. The matter of the humans will be decided. A wave of laughter erupted across the chamber. Dry, cruel, amused. Some aliens smirked. Some rolled their eyes. Some made mocking gestures. The human diplomats did not laugh. They stood tall, hands behind their backs, chins raised, eyes forward. They knew this day was coming. They just didn't know how far the council would go. Vexer continued, voice dripping with disdain. Humanity is unpredictable, unstable, dangerous. A hologram flickered to life above him, showing humans building ships, exploring space, colonizing distant moons. In the past century, humans have expanded faster than any known species. Another hologram appeared, human soldiers defending colonies, surviving disasters, rebuilding again and again. They adapt, they recover, they grow. His eyes narrowed like blades. And they cannot be controlled. Whispers swept through the chamber like a storm. They are too bold, too fast, too emotional. They will challenge us. They must be stopped. One alien leader rose, her voice hissing. Humans invent weapons at alarming speed. Another shouted, they fight even when hopeless. A third snarled, they refuse to kneel. The chamber burst into furious agreement. The word dangerous echoed like a drumbeat. The human diplomats remained silent, their faces still, but their hearts pounded like thunder inside their chests. They knew fear was spreading through the council, not because humans were monsters, but because they were different, because they didn't know their place, because they refused to stay small. Vexer lifted his hand and the room fell silent once again. The council will now vote. A glowing sphere rose into the air. Rows of alien leaders placed their hands on their consoles. Thousands of lights flickered. Green for safety, red for danger. The sphere turned red. Deep burning, blood red. A robotic voice spoke across the chamber, emotionless and final. Decision confirmed. Humanity is classified as a future threat. The chamber erupted into cheers. Loud, wild, triumphant. The aliens celebrated like they had already won a war, like humanity was already gone. Vexer raised his staff high. Effective immediately, humans are banned from the core worlds. Gasps echoed from the human diplomats. Banned, exiled, removed. Vexer continued, louder, sharper, crueler. Every human colony, embassy, ship, and citizen must leave within 30 days. The words struck like knives. 30 days, to uproot millions, to abandon homes, to walk away from everything humans had built. And then came the final blow. Those who refuse will be destroyed. The room exploded with laughter and applause. Some aliens clapped, some cheered, some pounded their fists with joy. To them it was a victory, a purge of a future rival, a clean erasure of a problem. The human diplomats stood frozen, not afraid, not broken, but stunned by the hatred being thrown at them. One alien sneered loudly. "Send them back to their dirt planet," another cackled. "Let them crawl in the mud where they belong," a third shouted with glee. "Humans will never rise again." The words echoed like thunder. Never rise again. Never rise again. Never rise again. The council repeated it like a chant. Curse. Promise. The youngest human diplomat, a woman named Captain Mara Holt, finally spoke, her voice calm but shaking slightly. "We have served peacefully. We have honored treaties. We have harmed no one." The council roared with laughter. Vexor smirked. "That is exactly why you are dangerous." Mara frowned. "We don't understand." Vexor leaned forward, eyes burning with cold fear. "Because a species that survives everything cannot be controlled." The words hit the chamber like a blade slicing through hope. Mara's voice cracked. "So you exile us because we endure?" Vexor hissed. "We exile you because you rise." Another alien growled. "Because you refuse to bow." A third spat. "Because you dream." The human diplomats exchanged a silent glance. Dreaming was a crime. Rising was a threat. Strength was unforgivable. The council was not afraid of what humans were now. They were afraid of what humans might become. Vexor slammed his staff once more. "Remove them." Guards marched forward, towering armored soldiers with glowing weapons. They surrounded the humans and forced them toward the exit. The chamber cheered as if they were watching an animal being dragged away. As the humans reached the massive doors, Vexor called out one last time. "Tell your leaders this, humans will never rise again." The doors slammed shut behind them. Silence swallowed the hallway like a cold shadow. The three diplomats walked side by side through the long crystal corridor, their footsteps echoing. Mara finally whispered, voice barely holding together. "What will Earth do now?" The eldest diplomat, Ambassador Kian, spoke quietly, his tone heavy. "We leave. We obey. We survive." The youngest of them clenched his fists. "They think they've defeated us." Kian nodded slowly. "Because they believe exile is death." Mara stopped walking. Her eyes turned toward the vast star-filled window. Ships flew past, council vessels, wealthy core transports, glittering fleets. None of them would ever welcome humans again. "Maybe exile is a beginning," she whispered. Kian looked at her. "What do you mean?" Mara's voice softened, but her eyes hardened like steel. "If we cannot belong in the core." She opened her hand against the glass, staring into the distant darkness at the edge of the galaxy. The outer rim, wild, lawless, unclaimed, forgotten. "Then we will take the rim." Kian's breath caught. The rim was dangerous, unknown, abandoned by most species, but rich, vast, full of secrets, full of potential. He whispered, "Do you really believe we can survive out there?" Mara did not blink. "We won't survive." She turned fully to him. "We will build." Her voice grew stronger. "We will grow." Her eyes burned. "We will rise." The other diplomat stared back, stunned by the fire in her words. Mara continued, "The council believes we are weak. They believe we are scared. They believe exile will break us." She stepped closer, her voice now steady as stone. "But exile will free us." Kian felt a chill run down his spine. He whispered, "What if they come after us?" Mara's expression turned cold and dangerous. "Then they will not find the same humans they banished." Her words echoed down the corridor, vibrating like a tremor of things yet to come. At that exact moment, far away, hidden in the deep shadows of space, something moved. A massive steel silhouette, silent as a ghost, drifting in the blackness beyond known borders. A warship, human-built, unknown to the council. One of many, engines powered down, weapons quiet, entire fleets sleeping like giants beneath the stars. A hidden armada waiting for a single command. Waiting for the day humanity would need them. Waiting for exile. A soft transmission pulsed through the darkness. A whisper from Earth itself. "Stand by." The ships remained silent. Still, patient. The council celebrated their victory, drunk on arrogance, blind to the truth. They believed they had destroyed humanity's future. They believed they had erased a threat. They believed they had buried a rising power. But they had only lit the fuse. And deep beneath Earth's surface, in a hidden command bunker, a single line appeared on a glowing screen. Project Rimfire, activated. A low voice spoke in the darkness, calm and fierce. They think they banished us. A second voice answered, but they only set us free. The screen flickered. A star map of the outer rim appeared, marked with countless potential worlds, potential colonies, potential power. The voice whispered the vow that would change history. If we cannot belong in the core. A small smile formed in the shadows. We will take the rim. The stars trembled. The future waited. And humanity, cast out, humiliated, alone, took its first step toward becoming something the galaxy would never be ready for. Not broken, not defeated, but rising, silent, relentless, unstoppable. And the Council's final words, "Humans will never rise again," began to crumble into dust. Because exile was not the end. It was the spark of an empire, the spark of a legend, the spark of humanity's return. And somewhere in the dark, a sleeping fleet opened its eyes. The rim was waiting, and humanity was coming. The news of exile spread across human space like a cold wind that froze every home, every city, every colony. One message echoed on every screen, every station, every ship. All humans must leave the core worlds within 30 days. People stared in silence, families holding hands, soldiers standing rigid, workers frozen mid-shift. No one spoke, no one breathed. It felt like the universe had turned its back on them. On Earth, millions gathered in the streets, watching the announcement replay again and again. Those who refuse will be destroyed. Mothers hugged their children tighter. Fathers clenched their fists. Elderly citizens wiped silent tears, remembering the decades humans had worked to earn their place among the stars. And now, all erased with one vote. Humanity was no longer a member of the galaxy. Humanity was unwanted. Humanity was alone. In orbit above Earth, the human fleet, still small, still damaged, still underestimated, activated evacuation orders. Ships opened their ramps. Civilians boarded with shaking hands and trembling hearts. Children carried only small bags, favorite toys, tiny drawings, old photos. Soldiers helped elderly passengers up the ramps, whispering, "You're safe. We won't leave you." No one knew where they were going, only that they could never come back. The core worlds were forbidden. Their homes, their dreams, their history, gone. In a quiet hospital on Mars, a young doctor named Ren closed the door of his medical bay, staring at a single patient, a newborn baby wrapped in a thin blanket. The mother, too weak to travel, whispered, "Will she survive out there?" Ren swallowed hard, forcing a small smile. Humans survive everywhere. But inside, his heart shook. He knew the rim was full of danger. Storms, pirates, ancient ruins, deadly voids. No laws, no protection, no safety. But exile meant death if they stayed. The baby opened her eyes, small and bright, innocent, unaware. Ren whispered a promise to her. "We will make a future for you." He lifted her gently and headed for the evacuation ship. Across the human colonies, the same scene repeated. Homes abandoned, streets emptied, lights turned off forever. Human worlds became ghost planets in less than a month. The Council had wanted humans erased from sight, and they succeeded. But they did not erase human determination. In the core, alien citizens watched humans depart from massive spaceports. Some laughed, some sneered, some pointed. Look at them, running, crawling back to their dirt. Good riddance. Human diplomats kept their heads high, ignoring the insults. Their silence was not weakness. It was restraint, a storm hidden behind calm eyes. As the last human transport left the core, High Chancellor Vexer appeared on every broadcast. "This is a victory for order," he declared proudly. "The galaxy is safer without humans." Aliens cheered. The council celebrated. They believed they had broken humanity. But far from the core, deep in dark space, human ships were gathering, not in fear, but in unity. The Exodus fleet formed, thousands of civilian transports, cargo ships, medical cruisers, mining barges, and old warships, lined up in a massive formation that stretched for miles. Lights flickered across the hulls, engines hummed like trembling hearts, and millions of humans stared at the stars ahead, waiting for a destination they did not yet know. A single command ship floated at the front of the formation, the horizon's reach. A tall woman with sharp eyes and a quiet, powerful presence stood on the bridge, Fleet Commander Arya Vale. She had once been ignored by the council, overlooked, dismissed as too young and too idealistic. Now, she was the leader of humanity's greatest journey. She looked at the star map, showing the shrinking border of the core and the vast wilderness beyond. The outer rim glowed like a faint ring, unclaimed, dangerous, forgotten. Everyone said the rim was death. Maybe it was, but it was also free. Vale spoke softly, but every officer heard her. We cannot go back. Her voice tightened. So we go forward. Lieutenant Rian, standing beside her, whispered, "Ma'am, the rim is uncharted. We don't know what's out there." Vale didn't look away from the map. Everything we've ever done began with not knowing. Rian swallowed hard. What if we don't survive? Vale turned to him, eyes fierce, unshaken. We didn't survive the core. We endured it. She stepped closer to the window, staring at the endless black. Now we will live. Human ships powered up for departure. Engines glowed blue and white, lighting the void. Families gathered at windows, watching Earth shrink behind them. Blue, beautiful, fragile. Children pressed their hands to the glass. Goodbye, home. Parents whispered through tears. We will return someday. Not today, but someday. As the fleet drifted away, a quiet message played across the civilian channels. A soft female voice. This is not the end of humanity. The voice continued, calm and steady. This is the beginning of freedom. Then, without warning, every ship in the fleet received a coded signal. Unknown origin. Unknown signature. The message appeared on every screen in simple white letters. Project Rimfire. Stage 2. Commander Vale froze. She knew the name. A secret program whispered only in the deepest military circles. A program born decades ago, when humanity first realized the Council feared them. A program preparing for exile long before exile existed. Vale opened the encrypted attachment. A star map unfolded glowing red. Dozens of marked planets in the outer rim. Rich in minerals. Rich in energy. Rich in possibility. Along with it, blueprints for massive shipyards, defense grids, terraforming stations, and hidden coordinates for something else. Something enormous. Something human-built. Something the Council never knew existed. A message followed, only 2 words. Begin construction. Vale felt her breath catch. Humanity had not been blind. Humanity had not been caught unprepared. Humanity had been planning. Waiting. Building. Rian whispered in shock. Ma'am. Someone knew this day would come. Vale nodded slowly. Someone knew the Council would fear us. Her voice grew stronger. And someone prepared us for exile. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving the core behind forever. Stars stretched into streaks of light. Space folded around them. Millions of humans held their breath. Fear mixing with a strange, unfamiliar feeling. Hope. Days passed in the darkness of travel. Food was rationed. Power was limited. Tempers flared. Some cried. Some broke. Some prayed. But most endured. Humans always endured. Parents comforted children with gentle promises. The rim will be our home. We'll build new cities. We'll start again. Soldiers trained in silent corners of ships. Engineers repaired engines with blistered hands. Scientists studied rim data transmitted by Project Rimfire. Everyone worked, because everyone knew there was no one coming to save them. Humans would save themselves. On the 10th day, alarms chimed. The fleet had reached the edge of the galaxy. The stars looked different, colder, sharper, older. Space was darker here, filled with strange shadows and silent storms. The outer rim. Humanity's exile. Humanity's fate. Vale stood on the bridge as the fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Before them stretched a massive region of swirling nebulae, shattered moons, ancient derelicts, and abandoned stations. It was terrifying. It was endless. It was theirs. Rian whispered, voice shaking, "Commander, what do we do now?" Vale inhaled slowly, letting the moment settle deep into her soul. Then she spoke the words that would define a new era. "We build a new home." She turned to her officers. "Activate RIM protocol." The fleet roared to life. Ships spread out. Scanners pulsed. Engines fired. Humanity began to move not as exiles but as pioneers. In the distance, a massive abandoned station floated silently, rusted, broken, forgotten by every species. Vale pointed at it. "We start there." Work crews prepared. Engineering ships launched. Drones flew toward the structure. A rusty nameplate flickered as they approached. OLD Core Relay, property of the Galactic Council. Humans smiled. Their exile would begin on something the Council abandoned. Something the Council forgot. Something the Council left behind because they believed it had no value. They believed humans had no value. They were wrong about both. Back in the core, the Council celebrated. Humanity is gone. Humanity is finished. Humanity will fade. They did not know that millions of humans were landing on rim worlds, repairing stations, mining asteroids, and activating ancient systems. They did not know that human shipyards were beginning to rise. They did not know that a silent human fleet, the hidden armada, was waking up. And they did not know that humanity's exile was not a grave. It was a seed. In darkness, in silence, in exile, humanity was beginning to grow. And somewhere deep in the rim, hidden beneath a shattered moon, a giant hangar door opened. A shadow moved inside. A metal giant the size of a city stirred. Engines warmed. Lights flickered. Humanity's secret power was rising. The outer rim greeted humanity with silence so deep it felt like a living thing. No trade routes. No signals. No laws. Just endless broken planets, dead stations, shattered moons, drifting wreckage, and cold black space where hope usually came to die. But for humans, this silence was not death. It was possibility. It was freedom. It was a blank page big enough for a new destiny. The Exodus fleet anchored near the abandoned station they found. Its metal bones cracked, its lights dead, its halls filled with dust older than any human memory. Engineers in worn suits floated toward it, hearts pounding. No one knew if the ancient structure would collapse the moment they touched it. But they moved anyway. Humans always moved forward. When the first drone connected to the outer panel, sparks flew, systems groaned, and the entire station shuddered awake with a low, rumbling hum. A single light flickered on, weak, yellow, trembling, and a ripple of breathless excitement moved through every ship in the fleet. One light, one spark, one beginning. Humanity cheered, not because they had won anything, but because they had started. Commander Arya Vale stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Reach, watching the old station illuminate room by room like a sleeping giant opening its eyes. Rian stood beside her, voice thick with disbelief. "We can actually rebuild it?" Vale didn't blink. "We will." She opened a fleet-wide channel. Her voice was steady, warm, but iron-solid. "Listen well. We are not guests anymore. We are not exiles. We are settlers. This rim is our home now, and we will rise." Her words spread through every ship, sinking into every heart like fire catching dry wood. People who had been afraid now felt something new: purpose. Within hours, thousands of humans began working. Mining ships drilled into nearby asteroids. Cargo drones hauled massive metal chunks back to the station. Engineers patched broken walls and reconnected power lines. Scientists scanned ruined databases, searching for maps and hidden secrets. Even civilians helped. Teachers, farmers, students, cooks, medics. anyone with hands and heart. Humanity was no longer waiting to be saved. Humanity was saving itself. Days became weeks. The abandoned station transformed. What was once a dark tomb grew into a glowing hub of life. Lights blazing through windows like stars. Generators humming with strength. Landing pads filling with transports. Humans renamed it Rim Station 1. Their first foothold. Their first claim. Their first step toward something bigger. And still they worked. They kept building. Because they knew survival was not enough. They needed strength. They needed industry. They needed power. One evening, Vale walked through the station's main corridor. Now alive with workers, families, laughter, and footsteps. Children played near crates, pretending to be starship captains. "I command the fleet," one giggled. "I build the cities," another shouted. Their joy made Vale pause. Humanity had been humiliated, exiled, mocked, pushed out like garbage. And yet here, in the coldest part of the galaxy, human children were smiling, breathing, growing, living. She whispered to herself, voice soft but fierce, "We are not broken." Meanwhile, deep beneath the station, in a hidden hangar discovered by accident, engineers pried open a massive sealed door. Inside, they found something astonishing, a half-finished framework of a shipyard. Not human-made, alien, ancient, abandoned centuries ago. It was enormous, large enough to construct ships the size of cities. Rian stared at it with wide eyes. "Commander! This could build a fleet." Vale walked forward slowly, her heartbeat deep and heavy. Not just a fleet. She reached out, touching the cold ancient metal. An empire. The discovery spread through the rim like wildfire. Hope surged. Fear turned into ambition. And behind closed doors, Vale activated Project Rimfire's second phase. Giant holographic blueprints filled the command room. Designs for new ships. Not like the old Earth warships. Bigger, faster, sharper. Built for the Rim. Built for independence. Built for something the Council never imagined, human dominance. Construction crews swarmed the alien shipyard. Welding, forging, building day and night. Massive metal ribs rose into space. Engines the size of mountains were assembled. The first hull took shape, shining silver and black, marked with one simple name, Terra Nova, the new Earth. And when its engines roared to life for the first time, the entire station shook. Humanity had built something the core never dreamed possible. Meanwhile, far across the rim, rumors spread. Unclaimed planets with rich minerals. Frozen worlds with breathable atmospheres. Dead moons hiding ancient vaults of knowledge. Human scouts mapped them one by one, placing markers claiming territory. This world belongs to the Terran Rim. This system belongs to humanity. The core had rejected humans. The Rim was becoming theirs. But not everyone celebrated. Some humans were tired, scared, broken from the journey. A man named Jalen stood on a balcony overlooking the black void, tears slipping down his face. "We lost everything," he whispered. Vale found him there. "We lost our place," she said quietly. "Not our future." Jalen wiped his eyes. "What if we never see Earth again?" Vale looked out at the stars. Endless, beautiful, wild. "Earth is not a place. It's a people." Jalen stared at her. Slowly, painfully, he nodded. Hope returned. Humanity healed. As months passed, the Rim transformed. New settlements spread across nearby moons. Greenhouses bloomed. Factories hummed. Training academies opened for soldiers and pilots. Schools opened for children. Human flags flew over dozens of outposts. Humanity had gone from abandoned to ascending. From homeless to rebuilding. From exiled to expanding. The Council had wanted to scatter humanity. Instead, exile united them. The Council had wanted humans to fade. Instead, humans were multiplying. The Council had wanted humans powerless. Instead, humans were building a force the core could not imagine. But the most shocking moment came when Rim Station 1 scanners detected strange movement near a distant broken moon. A buried structure, something massive, was activating by itself. Vale stared at the readings, breath-catching. Is it alien? Rian shook his head slowly, eyes widening. No, he swallowed hard. It's human. Shock rolled through the room. A human megastructure. Hidden. Forgotten. Waiting. Vale stepped closer to the display. Who built it? Rian whispered, voice trembling. Someone who knew we'd be exiled. The realization hit every officer like lightning. Humanity had not stumbled into the rim. Humanity had been steered toward it. Prepared for it. Armed for it. Exile was not an accident. It was destiny. Vale whispered. We were never meant to die here. Her voice sharpened into steel. We were meant to rise here. Far away in the core, High Chancellor Vexer laughed on his throne. Humans will vanish soon, he said confidently. They cannot survive the rim. Council members nodded, smug and satisfied. They believed they had erased humans. They believed the story had ended. But in the outer rim, the greatest story in the galaxy was just beginning. Humanity was no longer begging for a seat in the core. Humanity was building a throne in the rim. And soon, the core would hear footsteps. Heavy, relentless, rising. The footsteps of a species they thought they buried. The footsteps of humanity becoming something new. Not outcasts. Not refugees. Not exiles. A power. A force. An empire being born in silence. The rim was growing louder with human life. Stations glowing, ships launching, engines roaring, cities forming in the dust. But beyond that circle of hope, the darkness watched. The rim was not empty. It never had been. It was a graveyard of old empires, a hunting ground for predators, a kingdom ruled by one brutal truth: only the strongest survive. And as humanity rose, that darkness stirred. The first sign came as a faint tremor on Rim Station 1 scanners. Just a flicker, a tiny spike, almost nothing. A young technician named Lyra frowned at her screen. Strange, she whispered. The signal pulsed again, stronger this time. A massive object was moving toward human space. Then another. Then another. The readings got bigger, heavier, deadlier. Lyra's face went pale. Commander Vale, we have incoming. Within minutes, alarms blasted through the station. Red lights flooded the halls. Officers raced to command posts. Civilians were rushed into shelters. Thousands held their breath, hearts pounding, minds filled with a single terrifying question. Who was coming? Vale stepped onto the command deck, eyes sharp. Report. Lyra's voice shook. Unknown fleet. Very large. Power signatures off the charts. Rian stared at the tactical screen, horrified. That's not a fleet. That's a swarm. And then the ships appeared, dozens of jagged black cruisers, engines burning blood red, hulls covered in spikes and brutal symbols. A monstrous voice burst through open comms, loud and cruel. This territory belongs to Warlord Krall the Conqueror. Humans will surrender or die. The name hit the room like a punch to the chest. Krall, a legend in the rim, a butcher, tyrant, the ruler of 5 shattered sectors. Species whispered his name in fear. Colonies paid him tribute to avoid slaughter. He was a nightmare made real. Vale's jaw clenched. Open a channel. The screen flickered, revealing Krall's towering form. Armored plates, burning eyes, scars covering his face like cracked stone. He grinned, sharp teeth gleaming. So, the little earth creatures think they can claim my space. Vale stood tall, voice steady. We don't seek war. Krall laughed, a deep, savage sound that echoed across the bridge. War seeks you. He leaned closer. You are weak. Exiles. Beggars hiding in trash. He raised one clawed hand. But I am merciful. Kneel. Serve me. Offer tribute. And I may let some of you live. Gasps spread across the command deck. Kneel. Submit. Serve. The words hit every human like poison. Humanity had already bowed once, when the council exiled them. They would not bow again. Vale's answer was simple. No, the room went silent, as if the stars themselves held their breath. Krall froze, then snarled. Then die. His fleet moved instantly, Hundreds of missiles firing like burning rain, warships surging forward, cannons blazing. The sky turned into a storm of fire. Rim Station 1 shook violently. Explosions tore across the shields. Consoles burst with sparks. Officers were thrown to the ground. Lyra screamed, "Shields at 40%. Rian shouted, "We can't withstand a full assault." Vale didn't flinch. Launch defense wing. All combat ships, protect the station. Human warships scrambled out. Small, underpowered, outnumbered but fearless. They flew straight into the fire. The first clash was brutal. Human fighters weaved between enemy blasts, firing everything they had. 2 enemy cruisers exploded in bright blue flames. Cheers erupted across the station, hope rising. But Krall only laughed. "Is that all?" He raised his arm. His flagship released a massive plasma cannon blast. So powerful it tore through 3 human ships instantly, sending their burning remains spinning into the void. The cheers died. Silence roared. Lyra choked back a sob. "We're losing." Families in shelters huddled together, whispering prayers through trembling lips. Children cried softly. Soldiers gripped their rifles, knowing if the station fell, everyone would die. Vale stared at the tactical map. Red markers everywhere. Human ships falling. Enemy forces closing in. Rian whispered, voice cracking, "We should retreat." Vale shook her head slowly. "If we retreat, we lose the rim. We lose everything." Her voice softened but turned to steel. "We did not come here to run." She opened a fleet-wide channel. Her voice filled every ship, every shelter, every heart. "Listen to me. The Council cast us out. The galaxy rejected us. But this rim, this is ours." Her voice burned hotter. "We are not leaving." Her final words thundered like a war drum. "Stand and fight." Humanity answered. Pilots pushed their ships harder, diving through fire, risking everything. Engineers rerouted power to shields, burning their hands on overheated panels. Medics ran through the halls, dragging the wounded to safety. Even civilians helped, sealing bulkheads, delivering supplies, holding the hands of the terrified. Humanity was bleeding, but humanity was standing. Still, Krall's fleet was overwhelming. Human ships were cornered, shields failing, ammunition low. Krall appeared again on the screen, smirking. "Pathetic. You fight like insects. You die like insects." He aimed his cannon directly at Rim Station 1. A blast that size would destroy the station entirely. Millions would die. The human fleet would end. Krall whispered one last cruel command. "Fire!" The cannon charged, red light gathering like a burning sun. Lyra screamed. Rian closed his eyes. Civilians held their children and whispered goodbye. Vale stared at the screen, heart pounding, but her voice was unbroken. "If this is our end, we end standing." The cannon reached full power. Time slowed. The universe went silent. And then something moved. Not from afar. Not from hyperspace. But from beneath the shattered moon nearby. A hidden hangar door burst open with a booming roar. The ground split apart. Metal groaned. Engines awakened. And a monstrous shape rose into space. A massive warship, sleek and black, glowing with blue fire along its hull. Bigger than any human ship ever built. Silent. Unknown. Waiting for this moment. The ship's AI activated, broadcasting a single coded message across human channels. Project Rimfire Unit 1. Online. A whisper spread across the command deck. "It's ours." The colossal warship turned its cannons toward Krall's flagship. Vale's breath caught. Fire! A blinding beam erupted, white-hot, razor-sharp, and slammed into Krall's cannon before it launched, shattering it into molten debris. The explosion lit the void like a second sunrise. Krall staggered back, eyes wide with shock. Impossible! The Rimfire warship surged forward, shields blazing, engines roaring like a living storm. Human ships rallied behind it, new formation, new strength, new fire. The tide turned. Krall's cruisers began to fall, one by one. His fleet panicked. His soldiers screamed. His arrogance crumbled. With fury in his voice, Krall roared, "Retreat!" His fleet fled into the darkness, once hunters, now prey. The battlefield fell silent. Only human ships remained. Only human flags flew. Only human voices whispered in disbelief. "We won!" Lyra collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Rian pressed a trembling hand to his chest. Civilians rushed out of shelters, holding each other, crying tears of relief. Vale exhaled slowly, voice soft but filled with awe. "We are still here." But it was more than survival. It was a statement, a declaration, a warning to the galaxy. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was not finished. Humanity could fight. Humanity could win. And somewhere in the core, High Chancellor Vexor felt a chill crawl up his spine without knowing why. Somewhere deep inside him, a whisper formed. Humans are rising. The Rim had a new ruler. The first opponent had fallen. And the galaxy, whether it liked it or not, had just witnessed the birth of something unstoppable. The battle against Krall was over, but its echo spread like thunder across the galaxy. At first it was only whispers. Small, shaky voices traveling from trader to smuggler, from outpost to starship, from rumor to fear. Humans defeated Krall. The exiles fought back. The Rim did not fall. Most didn't believe it. Some laughed. Some dismissed it. But whispers have a way of growing. And within days the rumors reached the core worlds. The heart of the galaxy. The palace of the powerful. The home of the council. Inside the grand Galactic Council chamber, High Chancellor Vexor stood silent as a trembling messenger delivered the report. Warlord Krall's fleet has been destroyed. The chamber erupted in disbelief. Impossible! Krall ruled half the Rim. Humans are weak. Another messenger stepped forward, voice breaking. Krall did not just lose, he fled. The words hit like lightning. The council leaders stared at each other, expressions shifting from arrogance to confusion to dread. The council had spent centuries ruling through fear. Krall had been one of their unofficial weapons, a terror no one dared challenge. But humans, exiled, scattered, unwanted humans, had defeated him in their first real battle. Vexor slammed his staff against the floor. Silence! The room froze. His voice shook. Not with rage, but with something he never expected to feel. Fear. "Show us proof." A massive hologram flickered to life. Battle footage recovered from drifting debris. It showed Rim Station 1 under attack. Human ships fighting against impossible odds. Flames. Chaos. Then, out of the shattered moon, a massive warship rising like a sleeping titan awakened. Project Rimfire Unit 1. The hologram zoomed in on its hull. Alien leaders gasped. The ship was not small. Not crude. Not desperate. It was advanced. Powerful. Beautiful. A masterpiece of engineering. One council member whispered, "How could humans build this?" Another hissed, "They were exiles. They had no resources." A third snapped, "They were supposed to be dying." Vexor stared at the data, his claws tightening around his staff. "They planned this," he muttered, voice hollow. "This was not luck. This was preparation." Suddenly, every alien in the chamber understood a terrifying truth. Humanity had not stumbled into survival. Humanity had been preparing for this exile long before the council banned them. A strategist stepped forward, pale and shaking. "Chancellor, if humans can build ships like that, they could form a fleet." Another added, voice trembling, "And if they form a fleet, they could return." The chamber fell into dead silence. The word return hung in the air like a storm cloud. Return to the core. Return to the worlds that mocked them. Return to the council that cast them out. The chamber erupted into chaos. "We must stop them now. Destroy the Rim. Eliminate the exiles before they grow." Vexor raised his staff again, trying to calm them. But his voice was no longer confident. "We must assess their strength." On Rim Station 1, humanity did not know the council was panicking. They only knew one thing: they had survived. And that knowledge changed everything. The station was alive with celebration. Not wild partying, but quiet, emotional relief. Families hugged soldiers returning from battle. Medics wept over saved lives. Engineers touched the warm metal of the rimfire warship like it was sacred. Children ran through hallways shouting, "We won! We won!" Humanity felt something they hadn't felt since Exile began. Pride. Commander Vale stood on a balcony overlooking the rim. Stars shining, stations glowing, ships flying like silver birds. Rian approached her, voice soft. "We did what they said we couldn't." Vale nodded slowly. "We stood our ground." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And we won." But even in victory, her eyes carried a shadow. "The Council will not ignore this." Rian frowned. "They won't risk coming here, will they?" Vale turned to him, gaze steady and sharp. "They won't risk it." A long pause. "They will prepare for it." Meanwhile, in the core, emergency meetings began. A panicked council scientist delivered a grim report. If humans continue at this pace, they could control multiple sectors within a decade. Another added, "Their technology is evolving faster than projections." A general leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "And they have nothing to lose." That truth struck the chamber like a blade. Humans had no seat left to protect. No privilege. No reputation. No place in the core. They were free from shame, free from politics, free from restraint. A species with nothing to lose was the most dangerous kind of species. Vexor's voice trembled with anger and fear. "We must send scouts to the rim." Scouts were dispatched. Small ships, silent and fast. They expected to find fragile settlements, broken ships, starving exiles. But instead, they found colonies with growing cities, mines producing metals, shipyards expanding across empty space, fleets patrolling borders with discipline and strength. The rim was not dying. The rim was thriving. One scout transmitted a final message before vanishing. "Humans are building an empire." Back on Rim Station 1, Vale studied satellite images, new settlements on nearby moons, construction on 4 different planets, rimfire units coming online one by one. Her heart pounded. "We are becoming something bigger than survival," Rian whispered, eyes wide. "We are becoming a nation." Vale shook her head slowly. "No," she looked out at the stars, voice low and powerful. "We are becoming a power." But even as humans rose, fear spread across the rim. Former refugees, broken species, outcasts from other worlds approached the station, begging for protection. Crawl will return with allies. The Council will come in force. Vale listened to them all, her expression unreadable. One broken alien child looked up at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Will humans leave us like the Council did?" Vale knelt down, placing a hand gently on the child's shoulder. No, her voice was calm, but unshakable. "We don't abandon the weak." Those words traveled through the rim like a promise. A vow. A foundation. Then, in the core, a final report arrived. One that made every council member go silent. Human population growing. Rim economy rising. Military expanding. Technology accelerating. The report ended with one line. "Human independence is no longer reversible." Vexor felt cold fear crawl through him. Humanity could not be stopped by exile. Humanity could not be contained by distance. Humanity could not be erased by force. The Council had not ended humanity. They had unleashed it as the chamber trembled with dread. Vexor spoke the fear they all shared. "We did not destroy them." His eyes darkened. "We created them." And far away in the rim, humans stood beneath their new flag, a rising star over black space, and whispered the words the Council never expected to hear again. "We rise." The Council panicked. Humanity prepared. And the galaxy began to change. The rim was no longer silent. Human cities glowed on distant moons. Shipyards thundered with metal and fire. Rimfire warships patrolled like steel giants. The Terran rim was alive, growing, becoming something no one had imagined. But far beyond its borders, in the forgotten corners of the galaxy, something else was stirring. Broken signals. Weak distress calls. Faint whispers. They traveled through dark space like dying breaths. Help. Survivors. Exiled. Forsaken. Humanity was not the only species the Council cast out. The first ship appeared without warning. A rusted freighter drifting toward human space. Engines failing. Hull cracked. Lights flickering. Rim Patrol picked it up on scanners. Officer Jalen frowned. It's barely holding together. Vale ordered. Bring it in. When the ship docked, the doors creaked open, and a small crowd stumbled out, thin, starving, pale-skinned aliens with trembling hands and hollow eyes. A frightened boy clung to his mother, shaking. A limping elder collapsed to the floor. A medic rushed forward. They're malnourished, dehydrated, terrified. Vale stepped closer. Identify yourselves. The elder lifted his head, voice raspy. We are the Varen. Rian blinked. Weren't the Varen wiped out? The elder smiled weakly. Not wiped out. Banished. Those words hit the humans like ice. Banished. Just like them. Vale knelt beside him. Who did this to you? His voice cracked with pain and memory. The Council. Gasps spread across the dock. The Varen elder continued. They called us defective, weak, unworthy of core citizenship. They drove us into the dark. His eyes filled with tears. We had nowhere to go. He looked at Vale with desperate hope. Until we heard whispers that the humans stood against Crawl. A mother stepped forward, clutching her child. We came hoping you would not turn us away. Silence filled the hangar. The humans stared at the starving refugees, seeing themselves reflected in their fear. The day humanity was exiled. The day they became unwanted. Vale's voice was soft, but steady. You are safe here. The Varen fell to their knees, weeping. Thank you. Thank you. Word spread, and soon more ships arrived. Not one, not two, but dozens, then hundreds. Broken vessels limping toward the Terran rim. The Shalori, cast out for being too peaceful. The Bracken, banished for low intelligence. The Elisari, exiled for refusing to fight council wars. All unwanted, all abandoned, all left to die in the dark. Medical bays overflowed. Food stores ran thin. Human workers stayed awake for days repairing damaged ships, building shelters, calming terrified families. Children from a dozen species huddled together in warm blankets, whispering, "We are safe. The humans helped us." Rian's voice trembled as he watched them. "We can't support this many. We barely have enough for ourselves." Vale stared at the overcrowded station, heart heavy. "We were exiles once. We know this pain." Rian lowered his head. "But Commander, we could collapse under the weight." Vale closed her eyes, then made a decision that would change history. "We will not turn them away." Some humans were afraid. Some were angry. Some whispered doubts. What if they betray us? What if they steal our resources? What if this destroys us? But Vale stood before them all, her voice unshakable. When the council cast us out, the galaxy was silent. No one came. No one offered shelter. No one fought for us. Her eyes darkened with memory. "We will be better than them." She pointed to the refugees, broken, starving, shivering. "These people are not our burden. They are our proof." Confusion rippled through the crowd. Proof. Vale's voice thundered with conviction. Proof that exile does not break the worthy. It reveals them. Then her words cut through every doubt. "We were banished because the council feared our strength. Let us prove them right." And humanity got to work. Farms expanded. Factories doubled production. Engineers built new housing domes on nearby moons. Medical teams trained alien volunteers. The Rim became a cradle for the forgotten. Where the council threw them away, humanity lifted them up. A Shalori girl cried as she tasted real food for the first time in months. A Bracken mechanic bowed his head when humans offered him tools and a job. An Elisari elder whispered, "No one has ever helped us without demanding our obedience." Vale answered softly, "We ask nothing, except that you live." In time, the refugees began to heal, and something unexpected happened. They worked. They helped. They built. The Varen taught humans how to grow crops in low sunlight. The Bracken repaired mining machinery faster than any human team. The Elisari shared ancient maps of forgotten Rim worlds. The Rim was no longer just human. It was becoming a coalition. But the biggest moment came when a small Varen child approached Vale, holding a handmade flag, a blue field with a rising star. "This," he said shyly, "is for all of us." Vale knelt, her eyes softening. "What does it mean?" The child smiled. "It means we rise together." Vale felt a lump in her throat. That simple sentence became something more. A motto, promise, a future. Meanwhile, in the core, the council watched this with growing terror. A trembling scout officer delivered the report. The Rim is no longer human only. Dozens of species are joining them. The chamber erupted in panic. "They're forming alliances. They're building numbers. We meant to isolate them, not unite them." A general slammed his fist. "If they gain control of the Rim, they will become a superpower." Vexor hissed, "This must be stopped." But a strategist spoke up, voice shaking. "It may already be too late." Back in the Rim, a ceremony took place on Rim Station 1. Vale stood before hundreds of humans and thousands of refugees. Different faces, different languages, different worlds, but all silent, all watching. She raised the new flag, the rising star, high above the gathering. "We were exiled because they feared our rise." Her voice shook the air. "Now we rise not alone." She pointed to the crowd. "We rise together." Every species lifted their hands. Every voice joined in one shout, broken, emotional, powerful. Together. Tears streamed down faces, human and alien alike. The Rim was no longer a place of exile. It was becoming a civilization, a sanctuary, a force. Rian whispered beside her, awestruck. "Commander, do you realize what we've done?" Vale stared at the stars, her voice low and fierce. "We have done what the Council never imagined." Her eyes gleamed with fire. "We turned exile into unity." A distant glow flickered across the sky. Stations expanding, ships patrolling, cities rising. And Vale spoke the words that would echo across history. "The Rim is no longer the end of the map." Her voice hardened into destiny. "It is the beginning of a new galaxy." In that moment, the betrayed became the builders. The unwanted became the united. And humanity, once alone, now stood at the center of something unimaginable. A coalition born from pain, a power born from exile. The Rim was changing faster than anyone dreamed. What began as a desperate exile had become a rising civilization. Ships in formation, cities glowing on moons, children of many species learning side by side, factories humming with new life. The Terran Rim was no longer just a refuge. It was a future, promise, power, and the galaxy felt it. Trade whispers turned into rumors. Rumors turned into fear. Fear turned into panic. And like a cornered animal, the Council reacted the only way it knew: violence. It began with a single intercepted transmission. A scout on the Rim's border rushed into Vale's command room, pale and shaking. "Commander, we picked up Council chatter." Vale turned slowly. "What did it say?" The scout swallowed hard. "They're mobilizing." Silence dropped like a stone. Rian stepped closer, voice low. "Mobilizing? How much?" The scout's voice cracked. "Everything." Across the core worlds, fleets powered up. Docked warships awoke with thunderous roars. Engines ignited. Cannons recharged. Entire armadas formed in perfect, terrifying formation. The Council wasn't sending scouts. They weren't sending warnings. They were sending a military force vast enough to erase civilizations. A crimson banner flashed across every Council broadcast, bold and cold. Operation Cleanse the Rim. In the chamber, High Chancellor Vexor stood tall, voice seething with fear wrapped in false authority. "The Rim must be wiped before the corruption spreads." Another council member hissed, "Exiles were meant to fade, not flourish." A general snarled, "Before they grow stronger, we strike." The final vote was unanimous. Humanity had risen too far. The Rim had united too many. The Council would destroy them all. Far away, in the Terran Rim, life continued. Workers repairing stations, refugees planting crops, engineers constructing new rimfire units. No one knew what was coming, until the sky changed. It started as a faint shimmer, then a glow, then a rippling distortion, like space itself was bending. Lyra stared at her screen in horror. It's a hyperspace tear. Rian leaned forward. How many signatures? Lyra's voice shook uncontrollably. Too many to count. The tear exploded open, and out of it poured a nightmare. Council warships, thousands of them, stretched across the stars like a metal horizon. Silver hulls gleaming, cannons glowing, engines roaring. A wall of death. Civilians froze where they stood, staring through windows and domes at the impossible sight. A Bracken child whispered, "Is that an enemy?" A human mother pulled her close, voice trembling. "That is the Council." Alarms wailed through every colony. The rimfire defense grid activated. Ships scrambled. Pilots sprinted to launch bays. Soldiers locked into armor. But nothing felt big enough to face what was coming. Vale stood at the command bridge, eyes locked on the incoming fleet. For a long moment she didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then, quietly, she whispered a sentence that shook everyone around her. "They came to erase us." Rian stepped closer, voice cracking. "Commander, they brought enough firepower to destroy entire star systems." Vale finally turned, her expression a mix of steel and sorrow. "They see us not as people, but as a threat." Her voice hardened. "And threats are meant to be killed." A broadcast cut through every channel. The holographic face of High Chancellor Vexer filled the skies, massive and merciless. "Exiled species of the Rim," he thundered. "You have violated your sentence. You have grown. You have united. You have dared to challenge the order of the galaxy." Refugees trembled. Humans clenched their fists. Vexer continued, voice dripping with cruelty. "You will surrender your territory. You will disband your fleets. You will return to isolation." Vale narrowed her eyes. "And if we refuse?" Vexer's lips curled into a cold smile. "Then the Rim will burn." The Council fleet powered its weapons, billions of volts of destructive energy humming like a monster breathing. The Rim stood on the edge of extinction. Lyra whispered, "We can't fight that." Rian swallowed, voice breaking. "We're outnumbered 10-1. Refugee leaders pleaded. "Evacuate. Run. Hide." But Vale remained still, silent, steady, unbroken. She stared at the screen with a calm so deep it felt like gravity. Then she spoke. "Open a channel." Rian hesitated. "Commander." She didn't raise her voice. "Now." The channel activated. Vale's image appeared before the Council and across the whole Rim. She stood tall, wearing no crown, no armor, just a simple uniform. Just a human. Her voice carried through stars. "The Council cast us out. You left us to die. You told us we were worthless." Her hands clenched. "We built homes anyway." Her voice rose. "You told us we were weak." Her eyes burned. "We protected each other anyway." Tears glimmered in the eyes of thousands watching. Vale continued, soft but sharp. "You exiled us because you feared what we might become." She leaned forward. "And now you see it." The Council chamber erupted in rage. "Arrogant animals. How dare she end this?" But Vale wasn't finished. "We will not surrender. We will not kneel. We will not vanish." She raised her head. "We are done being exiles." Her voice thundered like a warship. "We are the Rim." Refugees and humans alike stood straighter, eyes fierce. Vale's final words carved themselves into history. "If you want to erase us," her voice dropped to a whisper of steel, "then you will have to survive us." Vexer snapped. "Fire." The order echoed. The Council fleet unleashed its weapons. Thousands of beams and missiles streaked toward the Rim, burning, blinding, unstoppable. The final moment stretched like eternity. People screamed. Children cried. Pilots gripped controls. And Vale whispered to herself, barely audible, "Hold!" Then boom! A massive blast erupted. Not from the Council fleet, but from the rim's far side. A colossal shadow tore out of hyperspace, bigger than the rimfire units, bigger than any known human ship. Engines lit like suns. Armor black as midnight. The ship's ID flashed across every screen. Terran Titan. Unit 0. The lost superflagship. The first weapon of Project Rimfire. The myth. The ghost. The monster humanity wasn't supposed to have. It fired one unimaginable beam that met the Council's attack head-on. Light collided with light. Fire clashed with fire. The sky exploded in a shockwave that shook planets. When the glare faded, the rim was still there. The Council fleet staggered, stunned. And Vale, eyes fierce and alive, whispered 3 words that turned fear into fury. All ships advance. Humanity did not run. Humanity charged. The battlefield erupted into chaos as the Terran Titan Unit 0 surged forward, its engines roaring like a world-ending storm. Its shadow stretched across the rim, a giant born from exile, a monster forged from rejection, a symbol of everything humanity had become. Refugees and humans alike stared through windows, tears filling their eyes, not from fear, but from something they had almost forgotten. Hope. Real, impossible, blazing hope. The Council fleet, once confident and proud, staggered in shock. Thousands of alien commanders shouted over each other in panic. What is that ship? How did humans build such power? This was not in our data. Fear spread through the fleet like wildfire. The Council had always believed humans were small. But now, staring at the Titan, they realized a nightmare truth. Humans had grown in the dark. Humans had risen in silence. Humans had evolved under exile. And the Council had never seen it coming. Vale stood on the Titan's bridge, her face lit by glowing screens and flickering alarms. Around her, officers scrambled, relaying commands, adjusting shields, locking weapons. Yet Vale was still calm, steady, fierce. She had no crown, no throne, no ancient legacy. But she had something greater, a united rim behind her. She raised her voice, strong and unbroken. We stand together. Across thousands of ships, human and refugee alike, voices answered in one thunderous roar. Together! The Council fleet fired again. Thousands of beams screaming across the void, missiles streaking like burning stars. The Titan took the blow, shields flaring white-hot, shaking but holding. Then Vale gave the order. Her voice was cold as steel. Return fire. The Titan's cannons lit up, releasing a blast so massive the stars seemed to tremble. It struck the Council's vanguard ships and tore through them like paper. Metal exploded. Fire rained across the void. Whole warships vanished in blinding flashes. The Council panicked. Admirals screamed. Captains begged for orders. Vexor's voice shook for the first time in his life. Fall back. Fall back. But it was too late. Humanity advanced. Rimfire units surged beside the Titan. Smaller human ships darted through enemy lines like angry sparks. Refugee vessels, even the weakest ones, joined the fight, firing whatever they could. It wasn't just a battle of weapons. It was a battle of souls. The exiled against the exalted. The forgotten against the powerful. The broken against the arrogant. And the galaxy watched on Rim Station 1. Children pressed their hands to the glass, whispering, "Come home! Come home!" Elders prayed. Mothers cried. Soldiers clenched their fists, knowing they were fighting for every life behind them. This wasn't about winning territory. This wasn't about revenge. This was about existence. This was about saying, with every blast and every breath, we deserve to live. The Council fleet began to fracture. Some ships turned and fled. Others powered down, surrendering. A few commanders refused to fight at all. One transmission came through, a trembling alien voice. "We will not kill the innocent. We are leaving." The Rim cheered. Because for the first time, the Council wasn't feared. The Council was afraid. But Vexor wasn't finished. His flagship fired a desperate strike, aimed not at the Titan but at the refugee colonies behind it. A coward's move. A strike at the helpless. Vale froze. They're targeting civilians. Her voice hardened into something lethal. Not while we stand. She activated a fleet-wide command. Protect the colonies. Human ships broke formation, racing to intercept the blast. Some were hit. Some were destroyed. Pilots whispered goodbye and rammed enemy missiles head-on. Sacrifice, courage, love, humanity's truest weapons. The Titan fired a final beam, one perfect line of pure blue fire. It ripped through Vexor's flagship, splitting it in half. Silence fell. Then, an explosion unlike anything the Rim had ever seen. The Council flagship shattered. Debris spiraled into darkness. The war was over. The Council was defeated. The battlefield went quiet. No engines. No weapons. Just breathing. Crying. Relief. Hope. Vale closed her eyes, tears slipping down her face. "It's done?" Rian whispered beside her, voice trembling. "We survived." And Vale corrected him, softly, powerfully. "We won." Across the Rim, lights flickered on in celebration. Refugee families hugged humans. Human medics carried alien children to safety. Flags were raised. Songs were sung. For the first time, the Rim felt not like exile, but home. Days later, a new broadcast went out. Not from the Council. From humanity. Vale stood before a galaxy-wide transmission. Calm. Strong. Unshaken. "We were banished," she said softly. "We were told we were nothing." Her eyes lifted. "So we became something greater." Behind her, the Titan loomed like a rising world. "We do not seek conquest. We do not seek revenge." Her voice deepened. "We seek respect. We seek peace. We seek a galaxy where no one is thrown away." She held up the blue flag with the rising star. "From this day forward, the Terran Rim is a sovereign alliance." She paused. "Any who wish to live in peace may join us." Then her final words echoed through every world. "We were exiles. Now we are a nation." In the core, the Council watched in trembling silence. Their greatest fear had come true. Humanity had not died in exile. Humanity had become a power. A small voice in the chamber whispered the truth. "We did not banish them," the voice cracked. "We freed them." Across the galaxy, history changed. Maps were rewritten. Borders shifted. Children learned new stories. Not about human weakness, but about human strength, human courage, human unity. And in the dark, beyond all borders, a single message pulsed across the stars. Simple, unbreakable, eternal. The Rim rises. Humanity was no longer begging for a place in the galaxy. Humanity had built its own.